The Tang Dynasty from 618 to 907 CE is fondly remembered as a golden age of Chinese culture. By roughly 850 CE, the greatest centers of learning and art in the world were Alexandria, Baghdad, Constantinople, and Chang'an, the huge capital of Tang China. Poetry was a crucial part of China's civil service examination, so during the Tang era and for centuries after it, every government officer had to know classics like the Book of Songs. Every official also had to be able to write quality poetry for special events and occasions. Historians have suggested that in all of Western history, only the court of Queen Elizabeth I came anywhere near having such an all-pervasive poetry culture among its officials. Chinese scholars later judged the three greatest poets of the Tang Dynasty period to be Li Po, a sometimes mischievous Taoist, Wang Wei, a painter and earnest Buddhist, and Tu Fu, a dedicated Confucian. When Western poetry experts eventually discovered historical Chinese poetry, they saw it as an intriguing puzzle box, a series of concentric chambers or pieces to be fitted together. Poems written in Tang Dynasty China virtually always sprung from something heavily on the mind of the poet, a catalyst which the writer felt needed to be responded to in language. A reader or hearer of the poem was supposed to work backwards, hunting for the situation that created the emotion which triggered the poem, finally seeing the poet and their world. Hence, Chinese poems were generally more real and experience-based than their historical Western counterparts, which were often randomly motivated and quite imaginary in content. The following very short Li Po poem makes deconstructing this reversal process easy. Li Po often wrote about love, friendship and drinking, but here captures a strikingly solemn image. The sky is clear, a single goose afar. The lake, vast, a lone sail moves slowly. With ingenious simplicity, each line makes us picture a white speck on a huge blue background, the distant bird seeming as slow to the mind's eye as the much closer sail. As the reader thinks deeply on the poem, they can intuit Li Po's emotions, perhaps awe at the smallness of that which moves compared with sky or water, or sadness as a traveller departs. The descriptive style of Wang Wei, whose skill as a painter influenced his poetry, shows the deftness with which Tang poets captured scenes from real life via crisp economical detail. His A Green Stream takes us to where rapids hum on scattered stones, light is dim in the close pines. The surface of an inlet sways with nuthorns, weeds are lush along the banks. In many of Wang Wei's poems, emotions are less expressed than implied, using what the poet sees and what he chooses to show us or leave out to signal feelings in a subtle way. Elliot Weinberger's 19 Ways of Looking at Wang Wei, with its 19 different readings of the one short poem, shows just how personally Tang poems can be interpreted. In his own lifetime, Tu Fu was less popular than Wang Wei and Li Po, but later scholars came to regard him as Chinese poetry's answer to Shakespeare. Tu Fu was deeply conscious of social order and family obligations, and his poetry had both the descriptive depth of Wang Wei and the intense individuality of vision found in Li Po. A perfect example of this combination is Tu Fu's Overnight at the Riverside Tower. Evening colours linger on mountain paths. Out beyond this study perched over River Gate, at the cliff's edge, frail clouds stay all night. Among waves, a lone, shuddering moon, as cranes trail off in flight silent, wolves snarl over their kill. I brood on our wars, sleepless here, and to right a relentless heaven and earth powerless. Thus, Tu Fu sets up elegant balances by using opposites in imagery. Solid cliff's edge, frail clouds. Many waves, one moon, cranes above, wolves below, finally heaven and earth. This famous work also illustrates the way high-level Tang poets leanly deployed arresting images to conjure up atmospheric scenes which framed their evocative punchline thoughts. A European craze for all things Chinese followed the establishment of modern global trade. One classic example being high-quality porcelain dinnerware coming to be renamed China. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, English society fell in love with Chinese actors, acrobats, and magicians whose daring escapes inspired great showmen like Harry Houdini. Sherlock Holmes, the world's most popular fictional detective created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, was, in line with those times, a connoisseur of Chinese culture and trained in an imagined Eastern martial art. Against this backdrop, the fascination with Chinese poetry grew, with scholars intrigued by its mysteriously different poetic theory, which contrasted so sharply with Western traditions. Today, classical Chinese, and especially Tang poetry, remains highly respected around the world. And universities, schools and culture clubs still run English Jueju contests, many with cash prizes.
Having just had this brush with the zenith of China's poetry culture, you might now also enjoy rounding out your journey with our survey of its fascinating historical backstory in episode 4.